Hello everyone, Drip Sauce here, and today we're going to be debunking the outrageousness of the Boruto fans just because of their new chapter that just came out. Yeah, let's get straight to debunking SHIBAI otsusuki. So, SHIBAI otsusuki is a new otsusuki that was introduced to the Boruto manga, and he's been getting a lot of hype lately, so I did promise you guys I was going to debunk it. So the debunk is actually pretty simple, but also pretty complex. Now, I don't know why people think higher dimension even means anything. First of all, saying that he ascended to a higher dimension because he doesn't have a physical body anymore is just stupid. Ascend and transcend are two completely different things. Ascend means to go up in a specific direction, which is upwards, obviously. And transcend means to go beyond the range or limits of something, in the sense that you are transcending the dimensions of that space, including that direction entirely, whether it extends even to infinity. People there are forgetting that even higher dimensions still have matter and physical properties, and you still need a physical body to exist in one because of the way the fourth dimension works with an extra unfathomable axis. Higher dimension really means nothing alone. It could just be referencing a higher plane of existence, which again doesn't really mean much. Metaphorically, even a god or a deity is in a higher plane of existence, but just because of its powers, not because he is or lives in a higher dimensional plane. Also, higher dimensions in fictional operas don't necessarily qualify you for higher tiers, as you should demonstrate that those dimensions actually have an infinite difference between them, and we see them hyping up SHIBAI, creating waves with a wave of his hand and storms by screaming, and that doesn't sound like something a higher dimensional being would need to do, as such things in the lower dimension would essentially be zero to him, so he wouldn't need to exert any effort to cause massive damage to even the entire universe, which isn't relatively even implied at all for SHIBAI. This also takes us to think that it could actually be a mistranslation. My suggestion is to find a raw scan and translate it with DeepL, or just to analyze the kanjis to see if the word dimension is correct or it's just a mistranslation from the English translators. Japanese language is pretty complicated, and I can assure you that they have a different way of expressing themselves. One of these ways is to say that character X is in a higher plane when he's too strong, better, or he is a deity / god, etc. Like, it's used metaphorically in a lot of operas, so by that reason and all the times it's used as saying then, it means that the characters are 4 or 5D is just wrong. Another debunk is that you can see this one Momoshiki here talks about him no longer being in this dimension, which easily makes us understand he's referring to a different realm and not to an actual cardinal space axis. So it would be more correct to say that this dude here, who SHIBAI, ascended to a higher dimension in the sense that he obtained new and higher powers. Context is the fact that his body is not physical anymore. That's also why he's not bounded by physical age. This, in fact, is not a demonstration on how he should be 5D or any higher. It needs to be demonstrated that the dimension in question inaccessibly transcends the last, which even by the way his power is portrayed actually debunks it being an inaccessible transcendence. And even if we were to steelman this argument and say he did go to a higher dimension, his physical body isn't there, so he wouldn't scale to it, as you still require it to actually be scalable in terms of existence. And speaking of that, it would only make him 4th dimensional and not 5 dimensional, since he's just existing in the 5th dimension and not destroying the ensemble of it. He would have a 4th dimensional existence, but you can't be 5D just because you exist in a 5D realm. By that dangerous logic, all humans would be 4D because we reside in 4D spacetime, which is just retarded. I can also argue that even if that was the case with him being higher dimensional, he could simply just be residing in the lower dimensional spectrum of the higher dimension, as dimensions are axes or spatial coordinates, and a cube has 2-dimensional properties as well as 3-dimensional properties. Only the fact that the volume is increased, which makes it apparent that it's a 3-dimensional object. Therefore, 2-dimensional beings can actually exist on a cube, but they will have no volume as they are still essentially 0 in comparison to the cube. Their volume cannot increase in the 3rd dimension. Same thing applies for any higher spatial dimensions as well. And the thing is, most people who scale on this app have no idea what they're talking about and just talk nonsense all the time. These guys have no idea about dimensionality or science whatsoever. If we take into account the fact that he absorbed countless planets, life energy, countless obviously being hyperbolic in this case, if he was absorbing actual infinite planets, then it would still be going on till now, and it's clear that it's just a finite amount of planets. That would just make him high and large planetary if I still meant it. However, there's no real way to actually quantify the amount of planets he took energy from, and also there's no way to quantify the size of each planet, as well as the amount of energy he took from each one. It doesn't make any sense for a finite amount of energy to make you a higher dimensional being, or make you higher dimensional, etc. So that's another contradiction over there. So everything just points towards his power or his abilities just being magical in the sense that he's seen as a god or a deity that is on a higher level than the other characters. So yeah, Shibai is nowhere near 4 or 5D, and Goku from the Saiyan Saga solos the verse.